Hello children, my name is Uzma and today I'm going to tell you a story called Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who lived in a village near the forest. Whenever she went out, the little girl wore a red riding cloak. So everyone in the village called her Little Red Riding Hood. One morning, Little Red Riding Hood asked her mother if she could go to visit her grandmother, as it had been a while since they'd seen each other. "That's a good idea," her mother said. So they packed a nice basket for Little Red Riding Hood to take to her grandmother. When the basket was ready, the little girl put on her red cloak and kissed her mother goodbye. "Remember, go straight to Grandma's house," her mother cautioned. "Please don't talk to strangers." "Don't worry, Mommy," said Little Red Riding Hood. "I'll be careful." Soon after, Little Red Riding Hood started her journey. She noticed some lovely flowers in the woods. She picked a few, watched the butterflies flit about for a while, listened to the frogs croaking, and then picked a few more. Suddenly, a wolf appeared beside her. "What are you doing out here, little girl?" the wolf asked in a voice as friendly as he could muster. "I'm on my way to see my grandma, who lives through the forest near the brook," Little Red Riding Hood replied. Then she realized how late she was and quickly excused herself, rushing down the path to her grandma's house. The wolf, in the meantime, took a shortcut. A little out of breath from running, he arrived at Grandma's and knocked lightly at the door. "Grandma, it's me," he said. The wolf let himself in. Poor Granny did not have any time to say another word before the wolf gobbled her up. The wolf then went through Granny's wardrobe to find a nightgown that he liked. He added a frilly sleeping cap and, for good measure, dabbed some of Granny's perfume behind his pointy ears. A few minutes later, Red Riding Hood knocked on the door. The wolf jumped into bed and pulled the covers over his nose. "Come in, dear," he called in a cackly voice. When Little Red Riding Hood entered the little cottage, she could barely recognize her grandmother. "But grandmother, what big ears you have!" "The better to hear you with, my dear." "But grandmother, what big eyes you have!" "The better to see you with, my dear." "But grandmother, what big teeth you have!" "The better to eat you with, my dear." And he leapt out of the bed and began to chase the little girl. But the wolf wasted no time in eating her up. Just as this happened, a woodsman who was on his way to chop logs nearby thought he would peek into the cottage, since he knew that grandmother wasn't well. Just as he did, the woodsman saw there was a wolf asleep on Granny's bed. He saw the wolf's fat tummy and immediately understood what had happened. He grabbed the wolf and made him spit out the poor Granny and Little Red Riding Hood. He then picked up the wolf and threw him into the well behind the house, saving not only Granny and Red Riding Hood, but also all the other villagers who were tormented because of the wolf. After that, children, the woodsman, Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother had a nice lunch and a long chat. And then, once they had all eaten the goodies that Little Red Riding Hood had gotten with her, she said goodbye to the woodsman and her grandmother and quickly went on her way back to her home.